The slow path to day trading millions is faster than the get-rich-quick path. May I prove it to you? Now, I'm going to be saying some things in this video that many of you are not going to like. You're going to want to hit the dislike button. You're going to want to stop watching it. And that's fine. Because that just means that the trading industrial complex has such a deep hold of you that you've been so brainwashed that you're just not ready and may never be ready or able, much less willing, to do the things necessary to turn your trading around and to create a trading plan that will enable you to draw consistent profits from the market and to create for yourself a consistent income on which you can rely on, so you don't have to work for somebody, so you can do what you want with your life. Now, I'm not telling you that this is some get-rich-quick scheme. It's not. But the truth of the matter is, most of us who have been trying to become consistently profitable day traders fail because unknowingly we are pursuing the get-rich-quick path, when in fact it is the slow path to day trading millions that really is fast. Now, this is not an idea I came up with on my own. There's a YouTube channel called Dave Scott Trades. It is a trading psychology channel, and I recommend it to anyone who is looking to try to identify those psychological barriers to success that are impeding, and maybe not just impeding, but outright preventing your progress. So I'm going to go ahead. This is probably going to be a fairly long video. I apologize for that, but what I need to say has to be said, and I believe it's better to be said all in one place than breaking this up into a bunch of, 10, 12, 15-minute videos or whatever the YouTube algorithm prefers. I'm not doing this to build a YouTube channel. I'm sharing this at Forex Factory. I'm not trying to take anything away from Forex Factory. In fact, I'm making these videos to make Forex Factory and my experience and perhaps your experience of that trading form even better. So it's going to be a long video. You can watch it all at once. You can watch it in bits and pieces. I suggest that you try to budget the amount of time you need to watch it all at once, at least the first time through. And then afterwards, if you feel you can benefit from the ideas presented here, then certainly you can watch those portions that speak to you more directly than others. Review those ideas that hit you more deeply and forcefully, but do try to budget the time necessary to watch it all the way through at least once. So I really do believe I'm going to be able to prove that you could very well turn a prop account into $1 million in cash in your own personal checking account within a year, a little less, a little more, but very quickly. And most of us have been doing this for many, many years. And those who are net profitable, such as myself, have not made millions, haven't even made hundreds of thousands. were more or less, maybe at best, it's really treading water. So I'm up over the years. But if you've been doing this for 5, 10, 15, some of us 20 years, and you've made maybe $50, $60, $70,000 over that time, based on inflation, you're really just treading water. You're running in place. You're not getting anywhere. And many, many more are on the opposite end of that equity curve. Most of you are net losers over the years. So you might be down $700, $7,000, $70,000 over the years, the decades. And what happened to me was that back in last November, I experienced what Jim Rohn calls the day that turns your life around. Now, in his presentation, The Day That Turns Your Life Around, he recounts this story. He says, sitting at the yacht club one day, having a drink, sort of in a fog, my friend David woke up and said, "Hey, what could I really have done if I hadn't been in this condition the last 20 years of my life?" He wasn't an out-and-out alcoholic, but he drank too much, and he started thinking about what he could really have accomplished if he hadn't been in a stupor most every day. Now, he wasn't bad enough to where he couldn't function, but he said that day when he thought back on what he really could have done if he hadn't stumbled around in a bit of fog all those years, how his life would be. And from that day on, he never touched a drink of alcohol. He died about 5 years after that, but those 5 years were the greatest years of his life. That one day, when he woke up and said, "Wow, this isn't good. What could I have done if I hadn't been sort of semi-conscious these last 20 years?" That was a very special day for him. Sometimes it's a cataclysmic event. Sometimes it's just a moment. Who can really explain it? Only the person it happens to, I guess, can really explain the inner voice that tells one, "I'm on the wrong track here. I wonder what I could really do if I kick this habit." Those are the days that turn your life around. And for me, that day was one day back in early November when the YouTube algorithm randomly suggested this video to me. And for whatever reason, I clicked on this video, probably because in my mind, I have long held a belief that day trading, professional day trading, and professional gambling are the same thing. That professional day trading is no different than a professional blackjack player who counts cards, a professional poker player. Professional day trading is a subset of professional gambling. Now, I want to make a difference here before you go and turn the video off or hit the dislike button, and that is this. There's a difference between a professional gambler like Billy Walters, who amasses a fortune in the hundreds of millions, quite possibly over $1 billion in net worth as a result of his professional gambling over a lifetime, and a degenerate gambler who goes deep into debt, loses his job, his wife, his family, goes bankrupt because he just throws money at the horses, the roulette table, the blackjack, anywhere, whatever his game of choice. There's degenerate gamblers. They have no edge, they have no plan, and they have no emotional discipline or control. And then there's professional gamblers who approach this like a business, professional day traders who approach this like a business. And watching this video, there was one moment that really struck me, and that moment changed me as a trader forever. In fact, if you go back to my posting history at Forex Factory, and you read my posts from when I joined sometime, I believe, in 2022 until last November 2024, and compare that to my posts since that time, you're going to see it's almost as though VidVad pre-2024, pre-November 2024 is a completely different trader from the VidVad who showed up in 2022. And just to be clear, I've been doing this for a lot longer than 2022. Okay, 2022 is when I came across a thread, Rocky Points thread at Forex Factory, and that moved me enough to actually sign up, become a member, so I could ask Rocky a question. That's how that happened. Anyway, the moment in this video is where the narrator tells us that on, this is Gonzalez Garcia Pelayo. So Gonzalo, he came up with a method, discovered a system of roulette that looked like it would give him an edge over the casino, so that he would actually win more over the long run than he lost. And by winning more than you lose, if you're thinking in terms of a business, your winnings are your revenue, your losses are your expenses. If your expenses are lower than your revenue, you have a net profit. If your expenses are greater than your net revenue, you're operating at a loss. So again, keep this in mind. Trading as a business, your profits are revenue. That's no different than when a customer comes into a car dealership and buys a car. That is revenue. That is sales revenue to the dealership. When the dealer has to pay the invoice for that car to the manufacturer, that's an expense. If the amount the dealer received from the customer for the purchase of that automobile is greater than the amount the dealer had to pay to the manufacturer to clear that invoice, the dealer made a net profit on that sale. On the other hand, if the dealer sold the automobile to the customer for less than the dealer had to pay the manufacturer, the dealer made a loss. But that's all day trading is. Your profits are your sales. That's your revenue, your money coming in. Your losses, which can't be avoided. The automobile dealer can't avoid paying the manufacturer. The day trader can't avoid paying the market for his or her losses, because you gotta put the money up to be in the game. There's no opportunity for the dealer to make a sale if the dealer doesn't first agree to pay the manufacturer for the cost of the automobile. There could be no winning trades if the day trader at first doesn't agree to enter a trade and risk potentially losing that trade, okay? So the moment in this video that struck me was that on his very first night, he had a very small bankroll, approximately $2,200 American. Let's not worry about what that was in terms of inflation-adjusted dollars. He's back in 1990 or so. That doesn't matter. I can tell you as an American, $2,200 is $2,200. Yes, it buys less now than it did back then, but in terms of being able to save it up and accumulate it, you can back then I was pretty young. $2,200 was still pretty easy to come up with. Now, $2,200, still pretty easy to come up with it, all right? So he had about $2,200, started placing his bets, and spin after spin, it was loss after loss. His already small bankroll rapidly depleting. And the narrator said, an already stressed Gonzalo knew that he had to just stick to his system, stick to his plan, keep placing those bets. He couldn't switch it up, couldn't change his plan, couldn't take his chips and go to the poker table, or the roulette, or the, what do you call them? Slot machines, the blackjack table. He had to stick to his market, which was the roulette table, and stick to his plan, which was basically betting on particular numbers that would come up more frequently than even odds would suggest. He found biased wheels where certain numbers on each wheel would come up more frequently than others. And suddenly, probability bit back, and he had several high-stakes wins that allowed him to finish his first night profitable in spite of the long, excruciating string of consecutive losses with which his evening started. And it was that moment in the video that I realized I had never really accepted the losses. I never really accepted the risk. So that whenever I had difficulty with a string of losses, I would immediately start to tweak my system. So again, in terms of Forex Factory, go to the Rocky thread, go to some of my journals, early journals, and you'll see I was continually looking for quote unquote trade filters. I wanted the ideal moving average length, moving average cross, the ideal oscillator. I was looking to prevent losses. And if you're out there tweaking systems, hopping from method to method and system to system and strategy to strategy, you have not done what needs to be done to be successful. You have not accepted the fact that every trade has a random outcome. Even if you have an edge where you'll win 60% of the time, you're going to lose 40% of the time. And that means that on any particular 20 trade sample, for example, you trade 20 trades, you have like a 10% chance that you're going to lose 5 trades in a row or more. And what happens with most of us is you have those 5 trades in a row that lose, and instead of sticking with your method, which is also going to give you a 40% chance of 8 winning trades in a row over any given 20 trade sample size, you will make changes. You might even abandon that trading plan completely. So what I realized here was I needed what I've always talked about. I told myself, Bidvad, you need a rule-based, non-discretionary trading plan where you know what to do and when to do it, and there's never any question, where should my stop loss go? Where's my entry? Where's my take profit? All that needs to be answered for me. And I would tell myself this, but if you, again, read my posts at Forex Factory, I was basically doing anything but that. I was in a stupor, fumbling around. My goodness, what could my trading results have been if I hadn't been drunk on loss avoidance? these last 5, 10, 20 years, however long it's been that I've been trading or you've been trading. So that was the moment that really changed things for me. And then I found another documentary. I don't think this is on YouTube anymore. This was the A&E channel. I downloaded it, so I have it on my computer. But I searched for it just before I started recording this. I took this screenshot a month ago, or however, because I've been planning this video. But anyway, this video, it's season 1, episode 10 of Breaking Vegas, which was a series on the A&E channel. I don't know if you can get it online somewhere else, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a little clip that really added to my epiphany. So my roulette epiphany was when I realized watching this that I had not accepted losses as a natural part of a successful, consistently profitable trading plan. And then watching this video, there was this passage. So that became, so I had my roulette epiphany. Then this became my roulette epiphany affirmation. And initially I used it word for word, what he had said there. If you trust him in the computer, if you follow the rules, if you're patient. And then shortly thereafter, I rewrote it. These are basically his words. I just crafted it so that it would more directly speak to me and day trading. If you trust your edge and your method, and if you trade only the setups it gives you, and if you follow the rules, if you are patient, and if you think in terms of weeks and months, never today or even tomorrow, then you'll make a lot of money and live the life you've always wanted to. So those together create the day that turned my life around. And I've done some more research into this as a result. And one of the things I came up with was, also, this became important. This is also Gonzalo Garcia Pelayo. By following your system, he said, it was easy to lose one day, easy to lose 2 days, but almost impossible to lose at the end of the week. If you stick to your method, stick to your system, stick to your rules, you're going to have losing trades. As a result, you're going to have losing days. You may even have consecutive losing days. But if you can keep your head, keep your emotional and mental discipline, refrain from taking trades that are not part of your system, refrain from over trading, refrain from over leveraging in an attempt to get all your losses back in one trade, you'll have very few losing weeks and probably never have another losing month in your life. So one of the interesting things I've found, I did share this at Forex Factory in the price bobbing thread, was that Fyodor Dostoevsky, who happens to be one of my favorite authors, had for a time been a gambling addict. He was a roulette addict. He wanted to become, he always wanted to write, but he needed financial support. You know, no one's going to pay him to write a novel until the novel's finished, at least not until he was established. And so he started gambling. Roulette was very popular at the time in Europe. And in a letter he wrote, I believe this was to maybe his sister-in-law. He talks about how the key to winning is sticking to the rules of your system and maintaining emotional control. He said, I really do know the secret. It is terribly silly and simple. Merely a matter of keeping oneself under constant control and never getting excited, no matter how the game shifts. That's all there is to it. You just can't lose that way and are sure to win. Now, I want to stop here for a moment and be clear. He's not saying that you don't lose. He's saying that by sticking to your method, maintaining a constant emotional control, placing the bets in the proper size, that over time, you're sure to win. You cannot lose that way. But he continues, but the difficulty is not in finding this out, but in being able to put it into practice once you do. You may be as wise as a serpent and have the will of iron, but you will still succumb. And that's a very human thing, right? We all have experienced this. That's why all of us are at Forex Factory instead of sitting on our private yacht or taking the vacations of our dreams. I mean, the biggest fraud at Forex Factory are these guys who come in and tell you how successful they are, former floor trader, this, that, and the other. If I may speak plainly, they're bullshitters. And a lot of them have hundreds of followers, some not so much. But, they're like top 1% influencers at Forex Factory, and it's bullshit. There's no wealthy former floor trader hanging out at Forex Factory. And if they claim it, they're bullshit. Look, if I hit $1 million trading over the next 12 months, am I going to be at Forex Factory on the regular? Probably not. I can think of some things I'd rather do than waste my life on social media. So again, you might dislike the video right here. You might stop it right here. And that's because it's more important to you to hang around Forex Factory the rest of your life than it is to actually become a consistently profitable trader. But I'm telling you, I'm not going to name names, but you guys can figure it out. They're all phonies. These guys who tell you that they're making, X% a day in and day out, that they've conquered trading, that they're former floor traders, and they talk in all kinds of abstract terms. It's all bullshit meant to pump up their ego and gain influence as a member of Forex Factory. There, I said it. Anyway, this is difficult. Even once because I've known this for years. And as I said, it wasn't until my roulette epiphany that I realized, yes, VidVad, you know this, but you've not really believed it enough to put it into practice. And so Dostoevsky concluded, and so blessed are those who do not gamble and look upon roulette with disgust as the most idiotic thing there is. Because he's basically saying, hey, it's really simple to get wealthy as a roulette player, but boy, it sure isn't easy. In fact, it's impossible because we're human beings and we're going to screw it up. And so those who look at day trading as nothing but gambling and look at it, day traders with disgust, well, blessed are they. Right? Do you see the connection? And in another letter, Dostoevsky discusses his crushing defeat and his failure to follow the rules of his system in a letter to his brother. He said, you ask in your letter how a man can gamble away his last kopeck, especially when he's traveling with someone he loves. Let me tell you, my dear Misha, that in Wiesbaden, I devised a system of play which I put to the test and won myself 10,000 francs. But the next morning, in my excitement, Remember what he said in the other letter to his sister or sister-in-law. If you can never get excited, no matter how the game shifts, then you can follow your rules, right? But in his excitement, I failed to stick to my system, and I lost right away. That night, I went back to my system, stuck strictly to it, and quickly and effortlessly won 3,000 francs again. Now, tell me yourself, after this happened, how could I help getting carried away? Again, excitement, emotional investment in the game, in the outcome. How could I fail to believe that if I held hard and fast to my system, happiness was in my grasp? And I need money for myself, for you, for my wife, to enable me to write my novel. Here people win tens of thousands just like that. Yes, I came here hoping to save you all, and to stave off misfortune. And then too, I had faith in my system. And what's more, when I got to Baden, I walked up to the roulette table and won 600 francs within a quarter of an hour. That whetted my appetite. Suddenly, I started losing. I could no longer restrain myself and lost everything I had with me. So let me stop right there for a moment. Compare that to Gonzalo Garcia Pelayo. He sat down. He started losing. But rather than not being able to restrain himself, he told himself, and he maintained that emotional composure and strict discipline. So Dostoevsky continues, after I sent you the letter from Baden, I took the last money I had and went back to play. I started with 4 Napoleons and won 35 Napoleons within half an hour. This extraordinary piece of luck went to my head. Again, Dostoevsky just could not maintain the required emotional composure and emotional discipline. So it went to his head, and I risked those 35 Napoleons, and I lost the whole 35. Basically, Dostoevsky overtraded and over-leveraged. If he started with 4 Napoleons and 135, he did so by betting, a quarter Napoleon per spin, gradually building up. But there he had 35 Napoleons. What did he do? It sounds as though he may have bet, all 35 on one spin. After paying the landlady, we had 6 gold Napoleons left for our journey. In Geneva, I pawned my watch. So, he basically was the equivalent of a would-be day trader who blew out his personal account, ran up his credit cards buying prop firm evaluations, and had nowhere else to go. He was broke. He was out of the game. And he was out of the game because he tried to do it too quickly. He wanted to become a millionaire before he left Geneva or Baden. Compared to Garcia Gonzalo Pelayo, who I can tell you by playing, he started small, $2,200. I think his risk was around $20 a spin initially. Within a year, they had made over $1 million. By the time they were done, it was a couple million that they had made, I believe. And in very short time, it didn't take them a decade. It took them a year or two. Meanwhile, Dostoevsky, the degenerate gambler, unable to stick to his system hopper, over-trader, over-leverager, was broken out of the game very quickly because he was trying to get rich quick. whereas Gonzalo got rich in very short time by doing it slowly. Now, I also shared this at the price bobbing thread. This is from a book, I think it's called How We Decide or something like that. I should have the what do you call it? Citation here. I think I originally I originally became aware of this passage through the work of former 4X Factory member, the Rumpled One, PRO. He has a YouTube channel. He definitely has a lot of material that's worth looking into. Again, he goes by the Rumpled One. And he initially shared this, and I don't know how long ago it was, but I came across where he shared it. And then once in a while, stuff comes up that reminds me of it. So I'm not going to explain the context. It becomes fairly clear. Look, for example, at this elegant little experiment. A rat was put into a T-shaped maze with a few morsels of food placed on either the far right or the far left side of the enclosure. The placement of the food was random, but the dice were rigged. So they would roll dice, and I guess depending upon whether maybe it was an even number, they'd place it to the left. If it was an odd number, they'd place it to the right. But the dice were rigged so that they would come up even more often than odd. So over the long run, the food was placed on the left side 60% of the time. How did the rat respond? A rat quickly realized that the left side was more rewarding. As a result, it always went to the left of the maze, which resulted in a 60%, let's call it, win rate. The rat didn't strive for perfection. So unlike Vidvad, the rat wasn't looking for the perfect moving average that would prevent ever going in a direction where there wasn't any food. It just always went where it had the greatest chance for success. It didn't search for a unified theory of the T-shaped maze. It just accepted the inherent uncertainty of the reward and learned to settle for the option that usually gave it the best outcome. The experiment was then repeated with Yale undergraduates. Unlike the rat, the students, with their elaborate networks of dopamine neurons, stubbornly searched for the elusive pattern that determined the placement of the reward. Let me stop right there for a moment. If you don't feel that describes the very journey of your trading to this very day, you're fooling yourself. Because I will tell you, that was exactly my approach to trading up until my roulette epiphany in November of 2024. With my elaborate network of dopamine neurons, I stubbornly searched for the elusive pattern that determined which trades would win, so that I could avoid those trades that would lose. If that line right there, if you don't feel it right now, then you can stop the video, because anything I've said or will say will be of no benefit to you. Part of the roulette epiphany was I was willing to be honest with myself. I was willing to accept I had been wrong for years, that I had wasted so many days, weeks, months, years of my life pursuing trading success in the wrong way, even while much of that time thinking and believing I was actually on the path of the roulette epiphany. It's startling. It can be disheartening for some, or it can be liberating. For me, it was liberating. It was exciting, not in the unrestrained excitement of the degenerate gambler, but the excitement of learning something about myself that previously my ego had been hiding from myself. And I say that the way I do because I believe that the ego is not me. As Dave Scott Trades would say, I believe that's where I heard him say this. It's very Jungian, I believe, psychology. You're not your ego. You're the awareness of the ego. But your ego wants to convince you and trick you perpetually into thinking you are it. But you're not. So let me continue. The Yale students made predictions and then tried to learn from their prediction errors. Again, exactly what I was doing. The Rocky Renko method. Geez, I sold short when it closed below the moving average band, but I still lost. Price reversed right up after I got in. Why was that? Let me study. Let me look for a better moving average. Let me look for a better oscillator that I can put on the bottom of my chart that would have kept me out. And then, of course, you're going to find one. You're going to find that oscillator or that moving average that would have prevented you from taking that one particular trade. The problem is, it's not going to prevent dozens of others. Do you see what I'm trying to tell you? Anyway, the Yale students are trying to learn from their prediction errors. The problem was there was nothing to predict. The randomness was real. But because the students refused to settle for a 60% win rate, they ended up with only a 52% win rate. Although most of the students were convinced that they were making progress toward identifying the underlying algorithm, they were, in actuality, outsmarted by a rat. Now, what we really know is they were outsmarted by their egos. The ego. That ego is that part of you that makes some of these guys at Forex Factory come in and tell you that they're former successful floor traders and they know all these secret algorithms and secret ways of viewing the market with their order flow this and their, whatevers. That's all their ego, and they don't even realize what their ego is doing to them. So you gotta break free of your ego. Your ego is what wants to make you feel important, look smart to others. You gotta be able to say, hey, I've been doing this for 20 years and I suck. If I had really accepted the true nature of the market and the true nature of trading, I would be sitting on tens of millions of dollars right now. And friends, I'm nowhere near that. Now, my ego doesn't want to confess that. My ego wants to tell you that I'm God's gift to trading, that I know the secret. I can, I have 100% win rate. I don't need a stop loss because my method is such that no matter where the market goes after I get in, eventually I'm going to get my take profit filled. That's ego. But I'm here to tell you that trading for many years has been a great struggle for me. And it is only in the last 9 months that I really have broken free. I've unstuck myself. Once in a while, I'll comment to someone on Forex Factory. I'll say, you're stuck. In order to unstick yourself. And boy, some of them get mad. They'll stop posting to my threads. They might even put me on ignore. They'll go to other threads and say, boy, that vid bad. What's wrong with that guy? I go into his thread and I try to change everything up and he thinks he knows it all. No, I don't know it all. And what's more is I know you don't know even close to what I do, because I know you can't know it all. All I know is that if you stick to a method that has an edge, it does need an edge. And you accept the fact that the outcome of each instance of your edge is random. And there's no way to avoid the losing trades. And the only way to be a consistent winner is to take all the trades. If you know that, then you are on the slow path to fast wealth. Let's continue. Now, one of my Forex Factory friends, JVT, shared this with me, I think back in March. This is a post to Reddit. I don't follow Reddit. What's more, this is from an Inner Circle Traders Reddit thread. And look, Inner Circle Traders, ICT, here's where I'm going to lose some more of you. That guy, he's a bullshitter. He's a failed trader. He lives in a big, beautiful house and drives really expensive cars, all bought and paid for by students who paid his mentoring fees back when he was charging for mentoring. So ICT, Inner Circle Traders, look, he has some concepts that are certainly worthwhile. They're based something on price action, but he's a bullshitter. And following him is going to keep you stuck. And this guy, this particular trader who goes by the name of Acrobatic Pitch 2992 on Reddit, wrote this essay, and this indicates to me that he knows he's not calling ICT out, he's not calling him a bullshitter, but he sees through the bullshit, and he's trying to put people on the right track. This is an essay called 0 Trades a Day Will Make You Profitable. He says, just take one simple setup. There are a million of them. And he's right. There is no end to setups that have a winning edge. Just pick one of them. He says, like a basic liquidity grab around a session high or low. I don't know what a liquidity grab is. I think that's probably a stop run. But ICT people have to make it sound more complicated and esoteric than it is. I think you could go back to Vic Sparandeo's books from the 90s, Trader Vic 1 and 2. Can't remember the exact titles, but he talks about the to-be trade, which are basically stop runs. I think that's all that is. You don't even need a bias. Got stopped out today, tomorrow, maybe you won't. The day after, there's no setup, there's no trade. That's your one trade per day. Why one? Because your model won't give you more than that. Not reliably. And if you're trying to run multiple models at the beginning, I'm not saying stop learning, but you do need to get out of the hole of inconsistency and unprofitability. And the only way out is one trade per day or 0. Why do people love the ICT Mentorship 2022? Because you can see the model, in quotes, every 5 minutes. But the truth is, it only works once a day. That's the truth. Every other time you see it, it's a stop loss. Everyone knows it. Now, I don't know what he's talking about here. I'm just keeping the context. Everyone who knows it is the ICT people who know that there's really one time a day that this particular model sets up, but everybody thinks they see the model over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, so every new day we wake up thinking, quote, today it'll be different, end quote. No, it won't. It's always the same. Not because the model fails, but because we impose our will, that is our ego, my friends, on the market, trying to see what isn't there. We start seeing one model inside another, because we know too much, because we have the freshest information, because our ego tells us that we can, quote, read price action, end quote. We don't need to read price action. We need to wait for the manifestation of the model. Let it show itself. Then work it. Same time every day. Same kill zone, one time. Now here's the more philosophical yet practical reason why one trade matters. When you only give yourself one window, you become responsible. You know this is it, this one chance, say from 9 a.m. to 10:30, or from 3 to 4:30 a.m., the London session. Start by intentionally limiting yourself. One window a day, that's all you get. You execute within it, because your model tends to appear within it. You know it, you backtest it, you've seen it, you're not guessing. I'm going to just pause for a moment here to suggest, if you're still looking for a method or a model or a way of looking at the market, maybe take a look at Stacy Burke's YouTube channel, or Pips to Profit. His name is Cameron. He's a Stacy Burke student. In many ways, his videos make it easier to understand Stacy Burke's methods. Stacy doesn't always do the best job at explaining himself, but this reminds me a lot of Stacy Burke. He has certain setups. They happen during certain timing windows. He defines those timing windows. He even has setups that happen on different days of the week. But he knows what he's looking for. Anyway, so those are just some suggestions. So he continues. When it shows up, that is your setup, you execute once. You give your full focus, no second chance. You don't get to say, well, that didn't work, I'll try something else in 15 minutes. That doesn't exist. That structure forces you to focus, analyze, observe, and wait for the actual model to form. Not, kinda looks like it. Not, I'll test if this is it. That doesn't work. You step up with full responsibility to execute the model. And when he says model, he's basically saying your setup, your trading plan. You have full responsibility to execute your trading plan. And you are not to deviate from it. Don't overtrade. Don't go off plan. Don't over leverage because you just took a loss and you're trying to get it all back at once. You execute when it truly manifests. And if it's a stop loss, that's it. Game over today. Why? Because your 1 hour window is over. 3 to 4:30, 9 to 10:30. You took the loss. The model didn't work today. We wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow, it doesn't show. We wait for the next day. It doesn't show again. We wait and try 2 days later. And you will very quickly, much faster than all the time you've spent blowing up accounts and burning out your nerves, you will very quickly see how sustainable and profitable this approach is. And if after 2 weeks, say, you're still losing, then your model doesn't work. You need to reevaluate, adjust, rework, but at least now you know. You have clear data, and that is a huge win. You learned you don't know enough, which means you need to add experience, more backtesting, improve a few areas. But in most cases, the model will work. And what I'd just like to say here is this. First, I'm a big advocate of a 20-day or 20 trade sample size. And this is based on the work of Mark Douglas. So I wouldn't say 2 weeks. I wouldn't limit it to 2 weeks if it's a 1 trade per day system. I'd make sure you get 20 trades in. And if there are days where your setup doesn't appear, it might take 30 days to get your 20 trades in. Now, if you're trading a method that you trade once, twice, 3 times a day, it could be in as little as 2 weeks that you have the 20 trades of data where you can look, review, Are the results are they acceptable? And what is acceptable? To me, acceptable is you're winning at least 60% of your trades and you're profitable. You have a net profit at the end of those 20. If you need to change a variable in your model, in your trading plan, be scientific about it. Change one variable only and then do another 20 trade sample size, because then you can measure the effectiveness of that one changed variable. If you change more than one variable and your results improve or they decline, you now have created a mystery. You do not know which of those two variables caused the increase or decrease in performance. You don't know if one of those variables taken by itself would have made your results wildly better or worse. So change only one variable. But read this slide again. Give it some thought. Again, I am not at all advocating. In fact, I'd warn against going down the ICT rabbit hole. It's going to screw you up even worse than you already are. What you really need to do is look for a method, a model, a system that can be completely role-based. No discretion, no wiggle room. And so for the remaining portion of this video, I'm going to quickly show some examples of the type of methods I've been using for the last 9 months. And I can tell you, my profitability over the last 9 months, I have made more in profits since November 2024 in my personal account and my funded prop accounts than I have in the last 20 years since I placed my first day trade on the ES. My first day trade on the ES E-mini was in 2006. So it's now been 19 years. It'll be 20 years next year. I have, over those years, I was profitable, but not greatly profitable. But the last 9 months, my profits have been greater than the entire 19 years preceding. And they've all been the result of the type of method I'm going to show you going forward. First one, rather recent for me. Oh, last thing did I put these on all these? No, just that one. What I want to point out here is this. So this is a little zero with eyes. I added starting at zero because this is really a starting at zero approach, what I'm suggesting here. I'm not suggesting that you take $5,000 or $2,000 in a personal account and start trading. No. First thing I'm suggesting is that you open up a SIM account. I use NinjaTrader. If you give NinjaTrader $50 and pay them $3 a month, you'll have a SIM account to practice in. So you deposit $50, give them a credit card number if you have one. If not, they can take the $3 out of that $50 balance. But give them $50. Give them a credit card, sign up just for the data that will give you access to I think maybe actually $12 a month to get all the CME data that I use. But if you're just using the US stock futures, you only need $3. You'd have to look at the exact breakdown at the NinjaTrader website. But this is all about sim trading. But even once you get consistent with your sim trading and you're ready to start trying to make money, I would suggest go with a prop firm. Go with either Top Step or Trade Day. Those are the only two I would recommend at the moment. But keep in mind, when you buy that $50,000 evaluation account, and if you pass it and you get a $50,000 funded account, in both cases, you are starting with zero. And you're really at zero until you've made at least $2,000 in profit, because that $2,000 is your drawdown limit. You're not starting with 50,000. You're starting at zero, which is another and you're at zero the entire time until you have more than $2,000 in accumulated profits. Once you have $2,000 in accumulated profits, you are now starting with $2,000. But until that day, you're really starting with zero. So, first method I'm going to show is, wait, let me adjust this here. Properties. Click the show cursor. Did this to make it easier for the video. I don't usually show it like this. Actually, sorry. Need to increase the size to 50 to make it look like I want it to look. All right. So, and one last thing, my goodness, making the video longer than it has to be. For this particular chart, let's make you blue. All right, so this is a 20-minute time frame. Each bar is 20 minutes long. It's the E-mini. The ES is the September contract. And this first bar opens at 8 a.m. and closes at 8:20 a.m. For this particular fixed bar interval method, this is the Linda Raschke opening range. I tend to like doing it as a long-only strategy, and I like to take my profit at a 61.8% extension of the range of the opening range. So this bar opened, traded down, traded up, filled the filled the entry order, closed here. I can't remember what happened yesterday. This is where you sort of need to, I'll show you what a back testing chart looks like. Okay. Anyway, but this is a fixed bar interval trading plan. I place a buy stop at the high, above the high of the opening range. Again, this is the institutional opening range, which is 8 a.m. Eastern to 8:20 a.m. Eastern. And I would take a profit at the 618. This is my risk reward tool. I have it set up so it shows me all the way up to a 4-to-1. But that's a fixed price method. Does it win every day? No. It may not have won today. It looks like it did, but I'd have to go to a smaller, so here, did it win on this day? I don't think so. I'd say I didn't trade it. It did. I actually just made it. Oh, wait. I remember this. Came one tick short. So this would have been a break-even trade. Break-even because once it gets within 6 ticks of the take profit on this plan, I move my stop loss to break-even. See if I can find. So this would have been a losing day. This would have been a zero trade day, never triggered. So I'm not doing the shorts. This is a win. But that's how these that's how these methods work. You're only trading based off of a particular interval, and your entry, stop loss, and take profit are a function of the range of that interval. So this is a relatively new one I've been testing. And this week I actually stopped trading it because and I'll explain that at the end. The whole purpose of this video has led me to a particular point in terms of trading plans. So here's another one I like. This is the micro Dow. You can trade it using the full size Dow. fixed bar interval. It's a 240-minute or 4-hour chart. The interval that serves as the reference bar for this plan opens at 2 a.m. Eastern when the German stock market opens, and it closes at 6 a.m. Eastern, so about 3 hours into the London session. So it's a 4-hour bar. This is long or short, 1-to-1 profit target. So for example, this was on a micro, an $89.50 profit this day. Again, all these were shorts. You can see it break out, right? There's a breakout. This was a breakout. This year is interesting because if I remember correctly, this is last week. Is this not snapping right? Give me a second. Very small range, but 1-to-1, very small. But this was a profitable trade because the short triggered, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember now. One of them triggered first. I can do it. I want to give you an example of a backtest chart for these. So this is a 4-hour bar. This is a 15-minute bar, but there's a candle overlay that's 4 hours, 240 minutes. So if I went to this day, 7/22, and I wanted to refresh my memory as to whether that trade won or lost, that should be here, okay? I can take my risk reward tool. And here's the reference bar. High, low, yeah. Triggered short, filled the profit target. And it was only then that it would have traded through what the stop loss was. So I'm not sure how clear all this is. I'm just trying to show. And on this one, I'm going to be a little more explicit. This is gold. This is gold. Fixed bar interval trading for gold. I'm also using, that's right? Yeah. For 4 hours, I typically am using the bar that closes at 6 a.m. Eastern. Opens when the DAX opens at 2 a.m. Eastern, closes at 6 a.m. Buy stop above the high, sell stop below the low. You can use I usually on these, I typically use a 1-to-1. My plan eventually would be used to trade multiple contracts and take a 1-to-1, 2-to-1, 3-to-1, 4-to-1 using some sort of trailing stop. But the idea is, you know when you need to be at the computer to place your orders. At 5:59 and 59 seconds a.m. in New York, I have to be here and I'll look at this and say, okay, if the high is 3389.3, I need to place a buy stop to initiate a long position at 3389.4. That's one tick higher than the high of this range. I will also need to place a sell stop to go short. The low of this range was 3377.5. So I need to place a sell stop at 3377.4 to go short. I have my ATM set up. Again, I don't show it here, but ATM would be set up to take profit at the 1-to-1. So what I will do, for example, here, I probably don't have, let's go with a custom. I would go to currency, and my stop loss is going to be 1,190 So I got to add one tick. My take profit is going to be 1,170 because I need to take away one tick. And so this will be my automated trade management for the day. Once one of these is triggered, I will cancel the other entry order, and my stop loss and my take profit will be entered into the market. Now, if during the next 4 hours, the trade doesn't trigger, I'll cancel. I'm done for the day. There's 0 trades that day. But that's a fixed bar method. I strongly suggest if you've been struggling to become a consistently profitable trader and you've been primarily using charts that are loaded with indicators, with moving averages, different types of bars, Renko, range bars, Heikin-Ashi, different oscillators, awesome oscillator, MACD, stochastics, any of that stuff, get rid of it. And I would suggest a fixed bar interval trading plan, such as 4 hours on gold, 4 hours on the YM. You could do the same thing with the ES. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. For the NQ, I personally do trade this one. I trade a 30-minute fixed bar method, and I use the 30 minutes from 9 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. And I do long or short, and this is my NQ fixed bar trading method. And if the risk is too great, trade micros. So if that, like for example here, it's funny, there's a discussion. What's what I'm doing here? There's a discussion, I think it's in the gold trading thread at Forex Factor right now, where some guy posted a video where he turned $1,000 into $14,000 in 1 month trading gold. And, all the cranks come out. Is this possible? What kind of trickster, BS is this? Well, look at this. I can tell you, to day trade a gold contract costs $1,000. You need to have $1,000 minimum in your account. But if you have $1,000 in your account, if you had it there at 6 o'clock in the morning on July 30th, NinjaTrader would have let you place this sell stop to go short. And if you took a 1-to-1, you would have made $1,100. If you had done a trailing stop, you would have made $4,700 on one trade. So now your 1,000 is 4,720 plus the 1,000 you started with. You got 5,720 in your account. All right. So now the next day you could trade 5 gold contracts. I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying you should. You shouldn't. Okay? You shouldn't be trading one with only $1,000. But I'm just trying to make it a point that with a plan and proper capital, now suppose you came in here with 5, got to the 61.8, stop loss goes to break even, a break even trade that day. You would have, so now instead of 5,700, you probably ended up losing $100 between slippage, commission, and fees. Maybe 200. You have $5,500 now. But you can still trade 5 contracts, and you're looking for 4-to-1. Next day, here you go. You have 5 contracts. You get long. Oops. I clicked it wrong, sorry. Sorry, we're almost done. 5 contracts. You make a 4-to-1 profit, $5,300 per contract. Suddenly, your $1,000 has generated a $30,000 account because you had $5,000 when you put this trade on, and you just made $25,000 trading 5 contracts. Now, I'm not suggesting this. One of the reasons that this is MYM and that this is MNQ is because I do feel when you're trading lower balanced accounts, you should be trading micros. Should be starting maybe with 1 micro. You can see this was already up, had these lines on. I was looking at this earlier. So I obviously had the micro account up. So that's how fixed bar trading works. You don't need indicators. Price bars themselves are indicators. The reference bar itself is an indicator, but you don't need other things. These dotted green lines, that just shows me where the first print of the day was. It shows me where the day started and end and where the opening price is. That's an indicator. This is a day of week indicator. This is a bar timer indicator. Lots of indicators, but you don't need what the Rumpled one calls squiggly lines. You just need price and something to reference yourself to. That's what Linda Raschke does here. The opening print is a reference. The opening print is on here. It's up there. But the institutional opening range, she's using that as a reference to trade from. Those who are familiar with the Price Bob thread and the original MeBob rules, MeBob is a reference bar. We get long or short relative to the reference bar, not relative to what some squiggly moving average is doing. Okay, so finally, the last thing I want to talk about is instead of fixed bar interval trading, it's reversal bar interval trading. So, in this case, this is an MNQ 5-minute reversal bar. How do I trade this? Well, what's a reversal bar, first of all? A reversal bar, very simply, is any bar that attempts to reverse the direction of the immediately preceding bar. So what I do is, this is the 5-minute bar at 9:30, opens at 9:25, closes at 9:30 Eastern, closed up. So I'm looking to trade a reversal, meaning I'd be looking for a short. I'm looking for the bar that reverses the direction of this bar. Now, in this case, I don't often take this first trade because my first trade, I give precedence to this. So in this case, they both would have been the same. The low was 42. So sell stop at 741 3/4 was filled for a profitable trade. Here too, the low, the low was 46 1/4, so would have actually made an earlier entry on this. But now we're looking for a reversal bar. So all I would be doing now is putting a buy stop above, take that buy stop and slide it to here, take a buy stop, slide it to here. Let me just do it that way. So the high was 32.75. So I want to buy stop. Make it more clear. Again, almost done. Just doing this as an example. All right, so this is going to be at 33. Goodness. We'll get it. All right, we're not going to. All right, let's just not worry about getting it exact. Buy stop is going to be above here. Looking for price waiting for this bar to see if it makes an attempt to reverse the direction of this bar. It does not. So now I don't cancel the order. The high was 92.95. I'm going to slide you down 92.50. Oh, so NinjaTrader's canceling this because the market's closed. The point is I would just slide down, slide down, slide down. Now, what I would do is here's an inside bar. Now I'm going to bracket it. I'm going to put a buy stop above and a sell stop below. And then when I trade this, I'm really looking for a 1-to-1. So that would have been a profit. These are MNQs. This is why you need to have access to micros. Because if this was a $69 risk and a $69 take profit on the micro, it's a $690 risk on the full-size mini. And again, if you're trading an evaluation account or a newly funded account with a prop firm, you don't want to risk $690 per trade. You don't want to be risking that until you have thousands and thousands of dollars. So anyway, you need to have something where the rules are non-negotiable. There's never a question. I'm not waiting to see where a moving average closes or waiting to see where an oscillator moves. I just need to see the high and the low of the most recent price bar and a bar time indicator that tells me, hey, you only got 10 seconds left. Get your orders in, right? And then the only thing I have to do is let my automated trade management either take me out with a stop loss or fill my take profit and then wait for the next trade. And if you do that over and over again, let's give a full chart here. You do that over and over again, you can't help but make a lot of money. And you're going to make that money so fast, so long as you increase your trade size relative to your closed equity based on something smart. So that might be, I will trade micros, 1 micro for every $500 I have in loss limit. So for a $2,000 loss limit, maybe I'll trade 4 micros. A better would probably be to trade 3 micros, risk $6 a point. And then also have another limit where, so for example, if I'm trading 3 on this, and this is a setup, this is a reversal bar, the risk here is $161 for 1 micro. If my typical size were 3 contracts, and my average loss was, say, $75 per contract, well, then I don't want to trade 3 and risk $161. I'll just trade 1 on that trade, right? Or maybe I'll trade 2. But you got to be smart. You got to manage your risk. Trade a market where you have access to contract sizes that allow you to adjust your risk. And then put together an equity plan that will allow you to build in a sensible way. So I made mention in a post recently, I found I don't have the link, I'll have to look for it, but I found a spreadsheet someone made at another forum, and I don't know when I found it, year or two ago. I really don't know. Pretty recent, not months ago, but years ago, a couple years. And I changed it a little bit to make it more to my liking, but I didn't make up any of the formulas. And what it lets me do is I can plug in my starting loss balance or my account balance. I can put in I can put in what I think my average daily profit will be in points and define my risk. And it'll tell me, well, when you're starting out, you're going to start with 3 micros. You're going to trade 3 micros until you accumulate an additional, say, $750 in profit. That's really what I'm looking at with micros. 750 equity, trade no more than 1 micro per 750. So if you have a $2,000 drawdown allowance on a brand new evaluation account, you should never be trading more than 3 micros. And depending on your risk, you should really only be trading maybe 1 or 2, but certainly no more than 3. And then here's the thing. You're never going to increase the size you're trading in that evaluation account. You're going to stick to that until you accumulate the $3,000 in profits you need to become funded. And then, with your brand new funded account, with your $2,000 drawdown limit, you're again going to trade no more than 3. And then depending upon the risk of any particular trade, you will adjust that risk down, okay, to 1 or 2 contracts. And you're going to stay there until you first accumulate $2,000 in profits, which is going to eliminate the trailing drawdown. So now you're finally really starting with $2,000. And then you're going to add 1 micro for every $750 in accumulated profits. Now, if you take a withdrawal, you got to resize your position sizing to a smaller level. As an example, suppose you trade your funded account and you accumulate a balance of $7,500. So the next trading day, you should be trading 10 micros or 1 full-size NQ. Okay? Because if you need $750 per micro, you need $7,500 to initiate trading an NQ. So if you have $7,500 and you think you're ready to trade an NQ, but you take a $2,500 withdrawal, well, you can't trade a full-size micro because now you only have $5,000. You divide your $5,000 by 750, you're back to trading 6 micros. So you have to do that as well. But whether you're using fixed bars or reversal bars, you create your plan by defining where am I going to take my profit. Your stop loss should always be the other side of your reference bar. So for reversal bar trading, so this is a reversal bar. This is the first bar where the next bar makes a higher high than the bar before it. So this is a long. Your stop loss is always the low of that reference bar. And again, for me, for the NQ, for this particular type of trading, I do a 1-to-1. I take my profit at a 1-to-1 move of the reference bar. So you have to define that. And if you do that, and then you do it over and over, and you only take the trades that you win, and define your time. So this is the 5 minutes right before the market opens. This is the 5 minutes right before the market closes. I'm not trading this whole time. When I'm trading, I usually don't take any trades after. At this point, I'm done at 10:30, no later than 11 a.m. I start at 9:30 for the NQ, and I'll trade for an hour and a half. And that's usually sufficient. At that point, I either have exceeded my profit target for the day, or I've had 2 losses and I'm done. Because if I try to trade after 2 losses, even though I know better, I am at risk of changing myself from the professional roulette player Gonzalo to the degenerate gambling roulette player Fyodor Dostoevsky. But that's it. Look, very long video, hour and a half. I don't know how many of you are still with me, but if you stayed with me and you followed me and you understand what I just communicated to you, then you will understand that the slow path to day trading millions really is faster than the get-rich-quick path that all of us, whether we want to believe it or not, all of us have been on. We all have hopped on a get-rich-quick path, and it's been killing us. And I'm going to prove it to you, not only through this video, and I believe that the philosophic underpinnings of this video and the observations on trading, psychology, and human behavior I've shared are sufficient to prove it. But I am going to prove it through an actual demonstration. I'm going to be trading at one particular funded prop account using just the MNQ reversal bar method. And I'm going to grow that account to a $1 million equity over the coming year and a half. I really believe I can do it. And it's because I am putting that account on the slow path to day trading millions. And I'm going to do everything I can to keep my ego from allowing me to be tempted and persuaded back to the get-rich-quick path. And that's it. So I will do a video shortly in the coming days, maybe even the coming hours, explaining how I'm going to do that. Have a good day.